Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today at Alter Curated, we're speaking about differentiation in Jungian terms and also how to develop a sense of self or how to fix the issue of not having any personality. And in Jungian terms, having no personality is not usually understood as literally lacking a personality. It is more often a problem of weak differentiation. The person has adapted so much to their environmental, societal conditioning, their family, culture, social media labels, fears, relationships, or ideals that they don't know what belongs to them and what belongs to everybody else. Carl Jung would probably say that the task is not to create a self, but to differentiate one. And I want you to do an exercise. Like, if you struggle with this, if you struggle with not having a sense of self or like being a sponge to others' ideals, expectations, labels, and emotions, then imagine your psyche as a landscape. And imagine that your opinions change depend on who you're with. You absorb others' emotions, you imitate people you admire, you struggle to know what you genuinely want, you feel empty when alone, you seek identities, labels, aesthetics, careers, or relationships to tell you who you are. You can, when differentiation is growing, you can disagree without feeling guilty. You know your preferences. You can tolerate being misunderstood or having a difference of opinion. You remain connected to others without becoming them. Your values remain relatively stable across situations. When differentiation can fail is if your environment punishes individuality, differentiation becomes risky. Then in those cases I feel like I've witnessed enmeshment with family or social isolation or excessive people pleasing, fear of conflict happen, and like excessive adaptation to others. And then the psyche learns that it's safer to be what is needed than to discover what is true. And the Jungian path of individuation is the lifelong process of becoming yourself. It asks, who am I? What parts of me have I never allowed to live? And the first signs of differentiation don't feel empowering. They often feel uncomfortable. Like you might have to have a difference of opinion and disappoint people. You have to change your mind publicly as you grow and evolve and become a more expansive version of yourself. You outgrow old identities, old labels, old aesthetics, old opinions, everything that is not perennial with the passage of time kind of fades away and sheds and evolves over time. You feel uncertain when old roles dissolve. And we can interpret this as losing ourselves, but you are only beginning to find yourself instead. So you have to practice differentiation, you have to track your genuine preferences, not what sounds impressive or cool to have to others. You're not performing for an imaginary audience consistently. You have to ask yourself, what music do I replay when nobody is watching? What topics pull me in naturally? What am I drawn to? What kind of people energize me? What do I spend time with thinking about without forcing it? Preference precedes identity. And you have to notice imitation. Whenever you're fascinated by someone, ask, am I inspired by them or am I trying to become them? A differentiated person can admire others without having to abandon themselves or their own preferences or individuality, their own hobbies, interests, and whatever they're drawn to or naturally interested in. And you have to be able to practice small disagreements. And this does not mean you do it without tact or without compassion or kindness. It like identity develops at the edges of your boundaries. Notice moments when you prefer a different restaurant, have a different opinion, you want a different plan. Express it, not aggressively, but simply and honestly. And you have to follow recurring themes. And across the span of years, what has remained constant in my psyche? What has naturally drawn me in without um, okay, the passage of time does not change what has naturally drawn me in or drawn me towards it. And that's what you have to ask yourself. What stories move me? What archetypes attract me? What dreams keep returning to me in different forms? What people keep returning to me in different forms? What qualities do I admire in others? And these often reveal the deeper direction of who you're meant to become. I want to make this very clear. Our differentiation only happens when we are able to be exposed to different environment, different sorts of people to exercise our preferences in, or different sort of social settings to understand what kind of dynamics we prefer and stuff like that. So, our differentiation is a developing process and it's never complete. Our evolution is lifelong and messy and imperfect and linear. You will go back on things you said. You will act in misalignment to your values. You will change your opinion on things and change them back after you've changed them. So it's like a very messy process, but that's what the like the juices of being human are. Like these are the creative juices we are meant to exercise as we dance with life, as we kind of conversate and co-create with life, and our collective consciousness kind of expands and contracts and expands again. And differentiation can be developed with age, new novel experiences. And like your sense of self only develops after a certain age, after you've just been long enough on the planet, like alive long enough on the planet, to figure out who you really are. So it takes time, and it's a patient, inner work, inducive, messy process. And you have to live long enough to trust that, to trust who you are, to move through the world with self assurance, to move through the world with your own unique sense of individuality while agreeing on some things and differing on others. And that's what a healthy sweet spot looks like. And you have to obviously find what that sweet spot or that balance looks like for you. And if you commit long enough to new environments, new social dynamics, to gather evidence about who you are, that's when you cultivate a real sense of personality and taste and individuation. And your differentiation is no longer weak. So, one exercise you can do is go to a solo date at a cafe, at a restaurant, and figure out what your preferences are within that dynamic. So, you're completely alone, you're just people watching, you're with your earphones, your book, whatever that is in your case, and just kind of track the kind of foods you like to order, what you prefer in stuff, try out new things, experimentation, play, kind of curiosity about who you are, and excited to discover your preferences, your needs, your wants, your taste, your unique core essence of who you are without somebody telling you who you should be or who you feel pressure to be in somebody's presence. There's no imaginary audience watching you, there's just you and what you like to do, what your wants and needs are, what your preferences are, what your tastes are, and kind of cultivating and nurturing what that self discovery looks like for you. And it's a very fulfilling process. I think it's one of the more easier things that I've done in my healing journey is like being able to differentiate and figure out what I like really clearly and really fast, really concisely. And it's not a theme that I've like particularly struggled with in my self love journey, but I know people who are younger are struggling with it. And I want to hand you the guidebook. It's not by any means the perfect guidebook, it has to be taken in a way that it applies to you and it resonates with you, and you can add or omit whatever kind of things you like. And I just wanted to say that young folks are doing great. They're much smarter than I was when I was their age. I'm like turning 26 in August, and I'm so happy to be the woman I'm becoming. And I take my pleasure, I take my consistency, my discipline very seriously. And I'm kind of interested in how to embody more of the knowledge I've accumulated throughout those years and interested in how I respond in certain dynamics and not play back into old loops and thought loops and patterns which are negative and self destructive. So I'm kind of in the process of breaking free of limiting patterns and limiting beliefs, limiting labels and identities. And it's very interesting for me to sort of discover who I am without a layer of trauma kind of muddling it and kind of messing with the core essence of who I am. So it's a kind of differentiation in itself if you're discovering who you are without pain or without trauma. And I really love that for us, for myself, for everybody who's discovering who they are at this stage of their life. And you have to be present with all stages of your life. Like if you have a past self, your current self, your future self, you have to be present and live each moment as authentically as you can, because your truth is going to change with the passage of time. You are going to have the gift of hindsight. Sometimes you're going to predict things in foresight, and your truth is going to change from moment to moment. So just live as authentically as you can, whatever your truth is in that moment. And it's okay to change your mind on things. It's okay to grow and evolve. It's okay to shed past labels of yourself, because as you do that, as you kind of stop holding yourself to a past version of yourself, others kind of loosen that grip on your identity of your past self also, and your perception of you kind of influences the perception of others that others have of you. And I just want to say that you guys are doing mighty good jobs at healing, because at your age, I did not know much. And my audience is a lot younger. I looked at the stats. I got 90 subscribers on YouTube. So it finally showed me some stats of like where my audience demographic is from. And it comes from real repeated lived experience, like a sense of true differentiation. And you don't have to become whoever you're around, right? That's like a pressure, that's an illusory barrier you placed on yourself, and you don't have to enmesh yourself in them. And that's something, that's a survival lie you adopted kind of when you were younger, where differentiating or having a disagreement was like conflict inducing. There was a lot of pushback, and it kind of led you to view differentiation as risky. But it's kind of a natural, healthy thing. And you can agree on some things, of course. Don't be like completely edgy to look cool. But I think it's very important to kind of move through the world with a sense of knowing who you are, discovering who you should be, who you are, and without the world telling you who you should be, you know? And I'm happy that I have, like, as a small creator, a audience of 90 people is like a huge deal to me. And I'm just very happy today because I'm able to articulate these things. My creative expression is my birthright, and I'm able to let the divine juices of creativity flow through me. And it's just very fulfilling work, regardless of if you get paid or not. So I want to continue to put stuff out there regardless of if it's monetizable or not, because it's just who I am. It's a part of who I am. It's the core essence of me, is like creative expression, no matter how small or big my numbers do. It's like creative expression through multiple forms, through multiple mediums, through multiple interdisciplinary forms of expression is who I am. And I'm open to changing and evolving. It's not by any means any rigid identity, but it feels truth and feels like authenticity to me at the moment. So I'm going to continue doing that. And I will see you guys on the next episode later. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with somebody who you think might like it, or you find value in it and you want to share with people how to learn to differentiate in Jungian terms, in Jungian terms. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye.